If you enjoy listening to inspirational stories from people just like us, facing the fear and doing it anyway, then you're in the right place. My name is Claire Hil, and this is the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Hello everyone, this is episode 10. I made it, double digits. This week is going to be a little bit different because I wanted to do a solo podcast episode. I want this podcast to be mainly interviewing amazing, inspirational people. But I thought I've got a bit to talk about. I've got a little bit to chat about this week. So I thought I would pop on. I bloody hate that. Pop on. Do you think that that's derived from pop in? You know, I'm just going to pop in. Probably is, isn't it? So this week I sent out. So this week I was talking to my friend Sally about different small business personalities. Well, actually, I say small business. It doesn't really, you don't have to own a small business. You could just have different personalities for different things anyway. So for me, I am Vid when I go out. So my nickname's Vid because it comes from my maiden name. And that's why the business, one of the businesses, is Vivid because of Vid. And I absolutely like, so when I go out, I embody this persona of confident, funny, you know, I like a little wine, like 1 or 2 glasses. I love more Prosecco, actually, to be fair. I'm always the first on the dance floor. I'm always the last one on the dance floor. I'm the one that goes, shall we have the music a bit louder? I'm always up for a party. Absolute party girl. And that's one side of me because I don't want to party every single night. Probably there was a time in my life that I did, but I definitely don't want to do that anymore. Anymore. Funny though, one of my sisters, I remember her saying to me, "You're never going to meet anybody going out like Vid. You're never going to meet your true love, like being like Vid, because you're too intimidating." And I remember thinking, oh, that's so rude. It's like, so rude. Of course I will. That is the most fun person I am. What do you mean no one was gonna want to go out with me? No one did. I never got asked out when I was being Vid. And I'm saying that like I'm Jekyll and Hyde. The Vid part of me, it is me. But do you know what I mean? That person that you are after a couple of drinks. Anyway, I didn't meet my husband when I was Vid. I actually met him. We met at work and he was managing a homeless hostel and I was managing a team working with homeless families, and we had to go to this big meeting about redundancies. And I remember exactly the day. It was a Tuesday. It was actually the 20th of March. Best week of my life though. It was a Tuesday. Anyway, I had a limp. I had a really sore foot, ankle or knee, one of them, due to my hypermobility and not exercising enough. So I had a limp. I had my hair up in a bun because it was all greasy, and I had my glasses on. Now, mind you, back then I didn't wear contact lenses, and it's only really recently it's actually when I did my business Violet and May, I used to work for so many hours in poor light that I needed my prescription changed to the point where I had to wear glasses all the time. So, now I need my glasses all of the time. And yeah, he wanted to ask me out when I had a limp, great big black framed glasses and greasy hair. And as my one of my sisters says, that was the true me. That was Claire. That was the Claire. So in Vivid Wire and the Claire Hil coaching, I have different personalities to how I show up in my stories. I have my CEO role, where I put a bit of lippy on. I don't usually wear glasses. I do my hair in the morning. And I feel like I need to put that outfit on to step into my work and think really strategically and analytically about the business, whether that is thinking of new income streams, forecasting, planning for the next few months, or it's just having meetings with people, especially when I do the podcast. I'm sort of CEO, Claire. When I do the podcast, I'm the face of the brand. And then with coaching, I always put that same sort of persona on as well, because I find when I'm coaching my clients, I feel I'm the most able to support them in the best way possible. Now, a lot of the time that might be planning, being strategic, looking at content, values, purpose, goals, all of those things. Sometimes it is just understanding where they feel and how they feel about their business in that moment, and being able to support them through any limiting beliefs that they might have. And then I'll have my production time at Vivid. I'll be in I might not wash for long. I do wash, but if I'm really, really busy, it's like I've got time to shower, so I might not have a shower first thing in the morning. I do shower every day, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. And then I'll just put on like really comfy clothes, glasses, greasy hair. It's always the greasy hair that wins me back. It's that moment when I'm just making all the time. So I'll be in that persona, and that's sort of like the production line. And then maybe if I'm having a day of designing, I'll put on my most colourful clothes, or the clothes that I enjoy wearing the most, because it sort of like brightens me up and my mood and my positivity, so I think outside the box. And I have to feel really confident when I'm designing, actually, because with wire art, you're obviously forming structure, and I have to plan that. And if something goes wrong, sometimes if I don't feel that confident, I go, oh, for God's sake, it's not going to work. And I start beating myself up about it. So I have to sort of go into designing in a very warrior mode, because I've got to accept that new designs might take 5 attempts before that I get them just right. And that's okay. That doesn't mean the design's not going to work. It just means it's going to take 5 attempts. And that's fine. So I was talking to somebody about all of these different personalities and how you have to step into them each day. And this week I sent out the first newsletter for Claire Hil coaching, and I really enjoyed writing it. It was quite if you've been around quite a long time, if you follow me and stuff, you know that I write almost every day, and I really adore writing. I've always got a lot to say. No surprises. See, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't put myself down for wanting to talk lots, because it's okay to want to talk lots as long as it's not shit that I'm spouting. But I wrote this newsletter, and the whole point of the newsletter and the headline was about, if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. Now, we live in the Instagram world, usually social media, Facebook, constantly comparing ourselves to other people, or society may lead us to believe that we should compare ourselves to other people. And I embrace the idea that there's no point in comparing myself to anybody, because I'm not in competition with anyone, because I want everybody to win. I don't care if you're another wire artist, another crafter, another woman, another man, anything. I don't care where you come from, what you're doing. I'm not in competition with you, because whatever you're trying to do, I will give you a round of applause, and I will support you to do the best job that you can do. And that's it. Because in our world, there is enough for everybody. And this might be a bit woo-woo for some people, but there really are. I did a post about this last week, I think, about how many supermarkets do their own jeans? Actually, let's start again. How many supermarkets are there? I know I love Aldi. The reason I love Aldi is that I can drop Jackson off at his childminder, run up to Aldi just after 8 o'clock in the morning, and do my shopping and be home having my first strong cup of coffee. I mean, it's my second cup of coffee, but my first strong one. I can sit back at home by 8:45. You can't do that necessarily in other supermarkets, because there's too much choice. They're too big. Aldi, in and out, done. And I love that. So in our local area, there's loads of supermarkets because it's serving loads of people. So of course, if there's loads of supermarkets, there can be lots of wire artists out there. That's absolutely fine. My wire art is different from another wire artist, and that's great. And I'm friends with some wire artists, and I'm not in competition with them at all because there's enough for everybody. There are enough coaches out there for everybody. I'm a different coach. My personality of how I coach people is different to another coach, but there's room for all of us. With this podcast, how many podcasts out there? Millions now. But I still love doing this podcast and put it out there. I'm not in competition. I'm doing it because I love it. It's like my new hobby. So it's moving away from that mindset that you are in competition with everybody. You're not. You just stay in your own lane, and be creative. And so when I wrote this newsletter, I was really trying to write to people that might feel that they are in competition, that they're comparing themselves. And actually, when people copy, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with copying. I really don't. People have copied me and I've gone about it in a different way, maybe to other people, because I want to protect my energy. I want to feel positive about my business. I want to use that energy to grow my business, not to complain, be negative, and upset other people, even if they copied me. Now, that some of you might be thinking, you're an absolute weirdo saying that. Actually saying that loud, I do feel a little bit like a weirdo, but my energy around this business, running my business, is more important than anything. Because I'm the machine that runs my business. If this machine goes down and I don't have the energy, then my family suffer. And that's more important than anything. So I protect my energy and I don't say anything. However, don't copy me. Don't copy me. Get your own ideas. And I know you copied me and you know you've copied me. So just stop. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to do anything else. Just don't copy me. So when I'm think about that, I think, well, maybe I'm an inspiration. And right at the beginning, which sounds so shit coming out of my mouth, I'm an inspiration. I can't say that about myself. I don't think I'm there yet in saying I'm an inspiration. But maybe I should actually. It was just a little bit of thought work right there. I have managed to leave a very good career in education that wasn't serving me, and grow my business to the point that I am able to do it full time. I love it. It's growing every day, and I'm taking on staff next year. Oh my God. That's just, the thought that to know that I'm at that point where I have people working for me, with me, which is the most appropriate thing. I don't know. But I'm going to be in that situation. It's really, really cool. So, just as I decided to go full time, I came across Emma Isaacs. Now, Emma's been on this podcast. She's a lovely friend of mine. She's wonderful. And she had Susie Moore on her podcast. And that podcast episode really transformed my way of thinking. I wrote down the quote that Susie said, and the quote was, "It's a generous place to be, to show what is possible. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you." And that really changed how I thought about it, because I was sitting in this belief that I can't run my own business. I'm Claire. Now, I didn't have the greatest childhood. I'm not going to wang on too much about it because that is in the past, but it has affected me in the way that I carry this persona that maybe I'm not good enough to run my own business. I'm not good enough to have success, especially if there's people, in the community that may not have much. And I know how that feels. What I'm changing that into now is, if I grow my business, I'm able to help people. I can help more people by being more successful and not holding on to those limited beliefs that might be holding me back. And as I was writing this newsletter, it dawned on me, though I was aware of it, but I wasn't as aware of it as I was in that moment, that the reason I do this is for myself. When I was 6 years old, I've got a picture if you go to my Claire Hil coaching Instagram, the picture's going to be on there because I'm recording this on Tuesday, but tomorrow I'm doing a post and I'm showing the picture. It's a picture of me when I'm about 6 with my two of my younger sisters, and I just look so happy. I look like I could explode with joy, just so happy. And I remember that day, and I remember it was all before things went miserable. Now, we didn't have much money then, but there was just a turning point shortly after that. And I just think, who did I need when I was that age? Who did I need to look up to know that everything was going to be all right? I'll be really vulnerable now. I'll try not to cry because I'm trying to record this episode and I don't want to edit it because I'm running out of time. I've got a market on Saturday. So I'm trying to scale down my work. But I had, since a very young age, I've always sang the Cinderella song. I'm not going to sing it, but I used to say to myself all the time, no matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, a dream that you wish will come true. Now, I used to say that to myself over and over again. And I can't believe how vulnerable I'm being right now. But I feel like some people are going to appreciate listening to this. If you do, by the way, can you let me know that I haven't been vulnerable for nothing? Because I'm going to have a huge vulnerability hangover after this. But I'm scared about sharing it, but I'm gonna do it. I'm going to share it because this podcast is all about facing the fear and doing it anyway, isn't it? So I used to say that line to myself over and over again. And I've got a card up in my office actually with a part of the song as a quote. And I just felt that if I believed in my heart that everything was going to be okay, if I worked hard and I held my dreams fast and I kept them close, and I just kept believing everything was going to be okay, it would be. Now, there were times in my life when that was really hard, really hard to believe, when things had fallen apart. And they've fallen apart for me quite a few times over the years. I mean, I'm coming up for 37, and there's been some really dark times and some very bright times. And you got to, take the rough with the smooth. And as I say, this too shall pass. And I think that's quite important to remember, that when you are feeling at your absolute lowest, when you don't feel that there is any possibility of ever feeling better again, that you remember that you will feel better again. There's always a point where things pass, but it's also really important to recognize that for the good times. And I think when I'm having a really good day, or I'm having a moment with my family and I just think, wow, my heart is really full, I take a moment to just soak it all in and be really grateful, because that will pass too. And usually it passes as soon as Jackson has a meltdown about not wanting a sausage or something like that. But when I was 6, and when I was younger, and all through those times, just keeping believing that everything is going to be okay. And with that, I created this warrior persona. And this goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, your small business personalities, and being that warrior, and knowing that in the times when you're crying with your small business or your job, there are times for all of us. I've cried about Vivid quite a few times. It's much less than it used to be, because I'm very organized now and I'm strategic, and all of this other stuff. I do spend some CEO time on my business, and I'm now I've been coached. I'm part of a group of women that we all coach each other about our businesses, and I've invested really heavily in myself to grow my business. Not necessarily invested in my business in a way, I suppose I have, but invested in me, and that I was worthy of that investment to grow my business. That's really important as well, because when you make that investment, you have to click into believing that you are worthy of investing that money into you. And that's a really important transformation if you're doing it. So going back to that warrior status, and then I owned it and thought, I am going to own this success. I am going to push my business forward. I am going to push it to the point where I want it to be, where I dream it to be, because I can show people what's possible. Now, saying that out loud again, it still feels like I haven't got enough authority to say something like that, because that's my self-doubt. Because, you know, I've been feeling a bit rubbish today, actually. Feeling a little bit insecure, but pushing past it and not really wanting to be in CEO personality today for Vivid. I wanted to be production. I wanted to just sit and make all day, but I can't. I had a podcast interview. I had to record this podcast. I had to do some planning and stuff for the week, and I had to be CEO, Claire. But it's my limiting belief, my beliefs, those negative thoughts. And I did a story earlier just to say, don't believe those negative thoughts, because they're fucking liars. They really are. And I was thinking, God, you look like a marshmallow. Honestly, where did I get that from? That I looked like a marshmallow? Oh, I do know, actually, because we were watching Ghostbusters at the weekend with Jackson. I just realised that is where it's from, because I was watching Ghostbusters. Anyway, I obviously don't look like a marshmallow, but it's going, you know what, I'm going to put my warrior armour on today. I'm going to put my lipstick on, and I am going to show up for myself, because if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. So Susie Moore said that to me in that podcast. I'm going to show her. So I have, and I did. And I'm happy about it. It's nice to think, though, if you take anything away from this episode, it's important to recognise what holds you back from achieving the things that you want to achieve. Do you know what you want to achieve? Sometimes people don't know. And who are you doing it for? And I think if you find a place in your life and you work hard for that person, so for me, it's my 6-year-old self. If you work hard for that person, that part of you, you learn to understand that you are worthy of your success. And for anyone that starts a sentence by, if someone says to them, what do you do? And you start the sentence by, well, it's a bit rubbish, but, or not really people any know what I do, or any other crap negative thing at the beginning, stop and say to yourself, when someone asks you what you are, and if you run your own business, you say, I'm a CEO. The CEO of what? I'm a CEO of Vivid Wire. Boom. Also, I've started adding on, I'm a CEO of Vivid Wire. I'm also a coach. I've run another business, Claire Hil Coaching, and I'm the host of a podcast. I'm also an author. I'm writing a book. I'm also all of these other things that we step into those personalities. So let me know if you got anything from that podcast. Now I'm going into the vulnerability hangover just as I'm finishing off, because I'm thinking, oh, what if that was a load of crap? You haven't got anything else? Well, I have got something else recorded, but I don't have time to edit it. This is the problem. But just to let you know that these episodes are running up to the 17th of December. And no, not the 17th of December, the 16th of December. And then I'm going to take a break over Christmas and come back on the 7th of, no, not the 7th, the 6th of January. There's a little break over Christmas. Yeah, I've got, there's more episodes to come. I hope you're loving it. If you did love this episode, please let me know. Leave a review or rate the podcast, because it does really help the podcast to grow. But it also makes me feel okay that making sure the episodes have got value to them. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you have a lovely week and hope you enjoy. And I feel really awkward. How do I end a podcast on my own? Just say bye to myself. Bye. Bye to you. I say bye to you guys. Bye, guys. No, you're not all guys. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. I do appreciate it. And remember to challenge those negative thoughts, because they're fucking liars. See you later. Thank you so much for listening to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Written, produced and hosted by Claire Hil, and music has been composed by my brother, Phil Vidler.